Hi, I'm Riley,
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Ideal Podcast.
where we talk about the ideal and not so ideal moments going from girlhood to womanhood.
Welcome back to Ideal Podcast. That's so crazy to say.
Yeah, we have some things to talk about.
Yeah, there is obviously an elephant in the room. We
Have decided to rebrand. So I think just moving forward in the new year and who we are as a team, I think we just decided with the ambitions that we have, this was the right move for us.
Yeah, this podcast is a lot greater than just a podcast. We have some dreams and things that we want to accomplish in the future, and so this just felt like the right move, and I hope you guys like the new name.
And we also have some new listeners and followers with us with the new rebrand. So if you're wanting to know a little bit more about Katie and I, we have an intro episode. It's our very first episode that you can go check out and give it a listen for a little bit more about us.
Yeah, and so to start off, what was your ideal moment of the week?
My ideal moment of the week was a few nights ago. We were in contact with a brand that we are obsessed with, and they offered to send us some things to try, and so we can't wait for that.
Yeah, it was such a big moment for us because we just want to keep growing and make those connections and network and hopefully start doing some fun things.
Yeah, I'm excited.
My ideal moment of the week was exactly a week ago. So does it still count?
Yeah, say it.
My dad came to visit and we hung out and just did some fun stuff. So it was nice to see him. Literally just for a day, though. So every episode, we try a new healthy sparkling drink. And today, I can't believe it took us this long to try a Trader Joe's drink.
I know. We've tried I don't know if we've tried it on the podcast. They're
No.
like the teas, but we've never tried the sparkling drinks.
Yeah, and so this is a ginger and lemon apple cider vinegar beverage, which it's literally the same exact thing as Poppy, because Poppy is an apple cider vinegar drink. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a try.
It smells good.
Trader Joe's never does anything wrong. Fizziness is a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Flavor is a 8.5. The apple cider vinegar is very strong.
It is
but
strong. If you like that flavor.
If you like it, yeah, then I highly recommend. This is a yes from Katie.
All right. Today, for me, we are trying United Sodas of America. We've tried this brand before. We've liked them, or at least a lot of their flavors. This one is sour blueberry. Picked this one out because it matched my shirt.
Riley, it's blue.
I can tell the fizz ratings already like it.
Fizz is going to be up there.
Oh, wow.
It smells delicious.
It tastes like candy.
It tastes like cotton candy.
That's what it is. I rate the fizziness. Fizziness is an 8. Taste 9.5.
That's incredible. I think that's their best flavor yet. Oh. Well, today we are doing a Q&A, which we've never done before. We had a poll on Instagram and some people asked us some very interesting questions, and so we tried to group them together and make them into more deep type of questions because a lot of them were very quick. To start off, all of these are about womanhood because that's what our podcast is about. And so we're going to start off deep. So the first question is, how did you find your confidence? Are there any tips for learning to love yourself?
I think that my tip that for me when I found my confidence was strictly just being unbothered by other people's thoughts, and I had to go through phases of people would say something about me and I would take it too personally, and you kind of just get to a point where you have to be done and you have to decide for yourself, I'm my own individual who brings, so many things to the table. And if I don't have confidence in myself, if I don't believe in myself, no one else is going to see that value. So
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of doing yourself a disservice by not being confident in yourself and what you do, because if you don't even believe in yourself, why should anybody else?
Yeah, that's very good. I think that finding your confidence is something that women and girls really, I think every woman and girl go through this. And I feel like I'm still finding it to this day. I have seen like a significant growth in my confidence. And I think it all started when I started to push myself outside of my comfort zone and really see what I'm capable of. Um, because I think when you're just kind of locked away in your own little world, it's hard to grow
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect. And so once I came to college, I feel like I found a whole other confidence in myself, because I think it comes from understanding what you can actually do. It's like you have to prove to yourself that it's like, wait, I can actually do this, you know?
And part of that is taking risks.
Yeah, exactly. And so, tips, put yourself out there. Um, you might not feel confident doing it, but I think you will feel confident coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And the next question, it kind of falls into the same category. What was the age that you struggled the most, and what advice would you give your younger self?
I think there were different stages of my life that were equally hard. I had a hard time in middle school internally, but I think now that I am who I am right now, I think that the years 20 and 21 have been the hardest for me.
Hmm.
Part of that is your own personal journey with yourself and your family, even. And I think there's a lot to say about growing into yourself, and you almost grieve your younger self
Mm.
and who you used to be to a certain extent. And at least for me, like I've had different struggles internally, like with familial relationships and things like that, and coming to terms with things. And I think that's why this phase has been hard for me, just kind of that awkward phase of going from being a young woman to a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh,
transition has been really hard for me. And not because I want it to be hard or because I'm making it hard on myself, but I think it's more of
external
it's like an
thing.
external kind of tug of war
Yeah,
feeling.
it definitely is hard to go through this process of becoming an adult, especially like moving out here and coming to terms with the fact that, oh, I'm fully on my own. I have to pay for things and like take care of myself. No one's there to guide me in a way, which obviously, like, we have friends, we have family members who we can go to, but I think just being away makes it hard. So, and that's like a whole other topic that like we need to do a whole podcast on, because I think one of the most difficult things I had to go through internally was just growing up. I always loved to be like a small baby bird in a nest, just cuddled up with her mom and dad.
See, the way I'm the kind of the opposite.
I know it's so interesting how we're
I
all so
I
different.
really want to do either a solo episode or an episode together about like parental relationships
I
and
would
parent
love to talk about
dynamics
that.
and things like that. I think that would be so interesting
Yeah,
because I feel like
definitely.
there's a lot of great things and a lot of
Just challenges that come with
yeah.
that. Yeah. Um, the age that I struggled the most, I think every age was hard in its own way, but I think my high school years were kind of the hardest internally because I was extremely, extremely shy, and I think I just hid my true self from people because I was scared of what they would think about who I truly am. Not like I'm like a superhero,
They're gonna
like
find out.
I'm a werewolf. We've
We've
been
been
watching.
watching We've been watching Teen Wolf. I've seen it already, but I haven't seen it in so long, so it's like I'm rewatching it for the very first time and it's amazing.
It's been fun. We've been watching every single time we have or like make dinner, and we're just standing there like yelling at the TV. Yeah, I think high school, I just really put myself down, um, and compared myself a lot. And I don't know, I wasn't myself in high school. I think we all just need to normalize going through these ups and downs of life, especially as women. Our hormones just impact our moods and our emotions so significantly. And I think that it's okay to go through these phases where maybe we don't feel our best or the most confident, but one thing we can do is just not put our identity into how we feel or what we think of ourselves. And our identity does come from what God says about us. And I think that's just something I wanted to mention.
The fact that a man's hormone cycle is a single day and they feel basically the same every single day
Yeah, it's pretty
is
incredible.
crazy to me. You have no reason to have attitude, sir.
I know, literally. But honestly, I feel like as difficult as these emotions are being a girl, I wouldn't want to change it.
I wouldn't either.
I think I love the fact that I'm so emotional and feel things deeply.
Yeah. I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm
There
like, dang
yeah,
it.
there are some days where I'm like, get it together.
So our next question is, what are your thoughts on the Barbie movie? And I'm also going to ask, how does the Barbie movie fit into your life, if it does?
Mm. I I think I really like this question because I think the Barbie movie brought a lot to the table. I think the movie had a lot of intention behind it, and it definitely had a mission at the end of the day. Um, what I got from the movie, I think just the whole idea, I'm so thankful that Barbies exist because I think I just love this like pink, bubbly, like girly girl type of
It's
thing.
within us in our core at
Yeah,
this
like
point.
it's who we are. We grew up playing with Barbies, and I think it was just so nostalgic to see that come to life. One thing that I didn't necessarily agree with is how the movie portrayed men. I think it made them look kind of stupid. And I talked to you about this before, but I think I've just never really had men like that around me. You know, I grew up with my dad, and he is the complete opposite of that, my boyfriend, and even the guys in my life. I feel like I don't see them the way that the movie created them to be, which I know everyone's experience is so different, and obviously there's still horrible people out there. But I think the Bible strongly emphasizes on the idea that women and men bring different things to the table, and I don't think one is inferior than the other.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, so that's the one thing that I didn't connect it to my life.
Yeah. I feel similarly on a couple of things. I think I came into the movie with expectations of having like a feel good kid Barbie movie of, how I viewed playing with Barbies growing up. I never thought of Barbies as, oh, she has big boobs and I don't. Or,
Yeah.
she's, skinnier than I am. I never thought of Barbies in that way. So when I came to watch the movie, my expectations just weren't met, I don't think. And I loved different parts of the movie, like the ending, the little montage of, girls
I
growing up and playing.
cried.
I also cried. It was very touching.
That song too. That song is
Mhm.
just
So
so
good.
good.
So I loved that part. Um, and I guess I also didn't love that Barbie did not end up with Ken, and it was almost just like she
Oh
thought
yeah.
Ken was disposable, and I just didn't like that. I think it should have been more of, we value each other and we're both equal in a relationship sense and we can, be powerful together.
Mhm.
so I didn't love that, and the Will Ferrell plot was confusing to me. It was like 10 minutes long and then never spoken about again.
I know that was a little weird.
um yeah, I just think that it wasn't what I wanted in like a Barbie movie. It just and I've had both great men and not so great men in my life, and I think we could have focused more on banding together as two genders and lifting each other up versus the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I do think that Barbie deserves a happy ending with Ken.
I agree.
They're meant to be together
They
because
are.
every single time I play with Barbies, they would be together.
Yeah, it didn't matter which Ken, but a Ken.
Yeah, a Ken.
A Ken.
I don't think I've ever had the like original blonde Ken. I had, from Barbie Life in the Dream
Mm-hmm.
House, the other guy, what's
Ryan.
Ryan?
Because if you're a woman and you haven't seen Barbie Life in the Dream House, I don't care how old you are, go and watch it. It's comical.
It's
It's
incredible.
genuinely
It's
hilarious.
built me as a person.
I have never laughed so hard. I could sit and watch all the seasons right now and still crack up.
Me
I
too.
think it's so funny. Netflix didn't have all the seasons, but the Barbie Life in the Dream House app had all the seasons.
Really?
So,
They're on YouTube. That's how we would watch
oh,
them.
well, I didn't know that, but I would take my mom's iPad, and whenever one of my friends would come over, her and I would always get like our legs waxed by my mom, and we would sit and watch Barbie Life in the Dream House
That
while getting our
sounds
legs waxed. That
now
is so
now
ideal. That's ideal.
that's an ideal moment.
You guys know the Ken in Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
I have that Ken, or had that Ken. I
Oh.
don't still have it.
Well, I'm curious where all my toys went.
I kept, I think, 3 or 4 of my Barbies. One of them was one of the very first Barbies that I got. It was a California Barbie. I hold it
Mm.
so close to my heart. And I saved that one and a few others. I also had Troy Bolton Ken. I don't have him anymore. I don't think I
That's
saved.
pretty
I
iconic.
I might have saved like my original Ken, the one that's in Toy Story, but I didn't save like my other Kens.
Another question was, growing up, how did you navigate friendships? Did you ever have to overcome or avoid cliques? I guess I could start. I think growing up, I was always very naive at
Mm.
the start, and I think I was just so desperate for meaningful friendships that I would just jump at anyone who was open and wanted to be friends.
I kind
Um,
of relate to that in middle school.
yeah, it was definitely when I was like way younger, like elementary school, middle school years. And I think I'm such a open person when it comes to friendships that I put more effort into friendships when people didn't
Mm.
reciprocate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just ended up hurting myself. So I think how I navigated it is I just learned my lesson. Like it's a constant up and down, and I got hurt, and I learned that hey, you can't be open to just absolutely everyone. Like you're not meant to be really close with everyone who you meet.
Mm-hmm. My I think my friendship journey has been a bit up and down since like kindergarten. I was also kind of a devious child a little bit to an extent. Like I lost a friendship once because
Oh
why I
no.
thought this was like a good idea, I don't know. But I took our home phone back when, houses had home phones,
Hmm.
and I dialed her parents' number because, none of us had phones or iPads or
Yeah.
anything. And I dialed her parents' phone number and I said I was on the side of the road and I needed help.
Why?
I have no idea. I don't know if I just wanted attention, or I guess maybe that's what I wanted. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so wasn't friends with her anymore. Ruined that one for myself. But I mean, after that, I struggled with some bullying in middle school, so I didn't really have friends from like 5th grade to 8th grade, and then I moved to a public school from private school. Yeah, I had a terrible private school experience. Public school all the way. Go East Ham. And then I started to kind of slowly make friends, like my freshman year. I had a few, and then it kind of just started to slowly grow from there. But I only had like two core friends, and then so I think my friend journey has been kind of up and down. I've lost friends, I've gained friends. It's just kind of a natural cycle, and I try to be patient with that, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
I think I did experience cliques for some time, and I think that just happens with big friend groups. Like some people just click
Mm.
more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something that I think people just need to be cautious when there is a big friend group, because I think as fun as it is, it does sometimes get clicky, and
Yeah.
like people kind of have their own like best friends in the midst of a big
Yeah,
group.
I think in a group it's a lot easier to feel that way because there's always like sections of best friends within a group,
Hmm.
and that's just natural. Did you ever see yourself doing long distance? How do you make it work?
I don't think I ever saw myself doing long distance. I think just also how my relationship started. I met my boyfriend 3 months before I moved to
Yeah, you're
college.
probably thinking you would meet someone here and then
That,
you wouldn't do long distance.
yeah, I was not even thinking that I would meet someone in those 3 months, but it happened, and I'm so thankful that it did, because I think he's just been like the biggest support in my life. And so I did not see myself doing long distance, but how do I make it work? Um, it's still hard. I feel like it never gets easier, and like there's always things that you have to overcome. But I would say that prioritizing each other, and when you do talk and FaceTime, like really make sure that you are putting your full attention on the person, and you're asking questions, and you're leading the conversation. Like it has to be very intentional. And then also just doing like watching a movie together, or just little things like that, like or sending each other some money to go and like buy a snack, or
Mm-hmm.
get a coffee or something like that. Little things.
I never not expected to do long distance. I mean, I knew I would be coming out here 2,000 miles away, and I started out at a big public university, so I wasn't closed off to the idea of doing long distance if I met someone, and I did, and we've been doing long distance, and especially if you have a time difference like I do, you have to be like extra, not cautious, but just more mindful of the other person's time. So we've had to kind of do schedule things. We made a calendar together. And yeah, I mean, I just think being mindful of the other person's schedule, not just thinking about like what you're doing, is an important part, at least for him and I.
Another question that came in was, being in a Christian relationship, how do you set boundaries? You and I talked about this a little bit, and we both believe that if you want to set boundaries, it has to be something that the both of you are choosing and committing to do. Because if one person is all in and the other isn't,
Does not work.
it doesn't work. There's no boundaries there.
It makes it that much harder when there's one person that agrees and one person, and not, they don't even necessarily have to disagree. It's more of they don't really care. And I mean, they can still respect your boundaries, but they would be okay crossing it. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be kind of careful and make sure that you both are on the same page if that's the move that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just having like open conversations about this, and like the quote that I hear absolutely everyone and their mothers say, it's not how close you can get to the line, but how far away you could get from it. And so the further you are from the line, the better, because once you start one thing, it leads to the next.
So another question is, have you ever been judged for starting a podcast, and how do you deal with judgment as a woman in general? Yes, judgment for the podcast, maybe on like a internal level. I think I've like felt people be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
cool." Like
Yeah.
I think some people are like, "Well, doesn't everyone have a podcast?" And I think you just I don't have to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
It's their judgment, it's not yours. It matters what you think of yourself, not what others think of you. So
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're doing something that you care about, then who cares?
Yeah, and I think only people close to us know why we're even doing this and like kind of know the story behind know the story behind it. And for Riley and I, it's a lot deeper than just sitting in front of a camera and talking. And we know what we want, where we want to get from here, and that's all that matters to us. And if some people have a problem with that, which I'm sure some people think we're weird for doing this,
Yeah.
um, at least we know that like this podcast could get us to the place where we want to eventually go, you
Yeah.
know? So it's
Yeah.
just a lot bigger for us, and we know what it is, and that's why I feel like we don't really care what people think because
Mm-hmm.
we're on a mission. We're on a mission.
Any advice on having a roommate in college slash how to avoid fights? I think specific advice on having a roommate in college, have a roommate that you're very similar to,
Yeah.
but not so similar to where it's like annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Katie and I, we have almost a mirrored lifestyle.
It's insane.
We like the same things. I don't know, it just works out. And I think when you have a roommate that's on the same page 99.9% of the time, it makes things so much smoother. And in terms of avoiding fights, I think you just have to be communicative. Like, don't just sit and let something that's bothering you fester.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd be pissed at you if you told me that you were upset about something from the past.
Yeah.
I'd be upset with you.
Imagine I just go, Riley, do you remember 5 months ago you threw your dirty socks on my side of the room? She doesn't do that. It just came to mind.
You just have to be honest and upfront just from the get-go to avoid fights. Do you want to talk about the one fight that we've had?
Yes.
It's not
Before
even a fight.
before I know. Cuz it's ongoing.
We have continuous beef.
Before we get into that, I feel like when you become friends, anything that could start a fight, it doesn't hold as much weight because at the end of the day, you care for each other and you don't want to fight, you know? And it's like, I feel like every single time that, like, I don't know, like even the story that we're going to talk about, like, even when it happens, at the end of the day, it's like you're still my best friend, you know? It's like, I don't care. Even though I am pretty mad at times. So, the story.
I feel like I could, if there was ever an instance where I would be mad at you, I would just get over it because it's like
Yeah.
I love you at the end of the day. Like we might have disagreements about things, but
Yeah. But it doesn't matter as much, you know?
mm-mm.
Especially this. So Riley and I are very similar, but there's this one thing where you and I are very different in, and that's you're always hot and I'm always cold. Like literally my hands right now are freezing.
What's weird is I get cold during the day, but at night, if it's not below 70 degrees, I'm sweating. I throw off my blankets. It's not good.
And for me, if it's below 70, I start to shiver and layer up with clothes and need a bunch of blankets.
For reference, she wears like pants, a t-shirt or long sleeve, and a sweatshirt and socks to bed.
And before you start judging me for sleeping with
Fuzzy socks. I do this too in the winter. I
wear
fuzzy socks.
Yes, and I have no choice.
Let us know if you wear socks to bed or not.
If you do, I will never judge you because
Same.
I understand.
Yeah. So she wears full coverage. She's a full coverage girl in the bed.
I'm modest.
She's modest. Me, on the other hand, I wear shorts that would not be appropriate in public and a tank top or a bra.
Yeah.
Because I cannot stand it. It's horrible. I wake up and I'm just like, ugh, get me out.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that we've like quote unquote argued. To finish off, for those of you who don't know, we go to school at Pepperdine. I feel like we say this all the time, but for just in case anyone doesn't know that, What is the best and worst part about Pepperdine?
For me, best would be the beauty. You never get tired of it. At least I don't. Um, Especially because I live in a completely different climate,
Yeah.
state,
Yeah.
everything. So seeing a palm tree is like heaven on earth for me. Worst part, it's not accessible. It's kind of challenging to like do stuff and go places, and it's expensive.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. For me, the best part, I agree. It's such a beautiful campus. Also, I talked about this last time, but I think the drive that the students have here and also the professors here are just next level. Like, they're all so driven, and professors have accomplished so much and are so knowledgeable, and the students are too. Like, sometimes I'm just shocked at what students have
it's a
accomplished.
new level of competition at Pepperdine. You look at someone and you're like, oh, they're probably not smart.
Mm,
Oh, they are.
they're incredibly smart, and they've had all these internships, and they have all these connections, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily bad. I think it's just it pushes me to do great as well.
I think another thing, it's not my least favorite part about Pepperdine, but I think it's always funny to me. You go in with a certain level of wealth is kind of the wrong word, but I guess it's the best word I can explain. And you see someone decked out in Givenchy,
Yeah.
and here I am wearing, I don't know
Just like
what,
average
average
clothes.
clothes,
Yeah.
and it's just I kind of laugh. I'm like,
I'm just not used to
this is
seeing
real
that.
life.
Yeah. There's this one guy in one of my classes, and he always walks in late, and he sits in the front, so like he
He has to
sits.
walk in front of everyone.
Yeah. And he sat down, and I look over, and he has a designer backpack, designer denim jacket,
Mm-hmm.
designer shoes, like everything designer, and I'm like,
Full on street style designer, like
yeah.
New York Fashion Week type of
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah,
Like it's pretty cool to see, honestly. Well,
that's all we
that
have.
that was our Q&A. Thank you for listening, and to whoever's new, thanks for clicking on our episode, and we hope you stay a while.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed and want to come back.
Yeah. See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.